The only reason you would ever go to a psychiatrist is because you think something is wrong with you, and ultimately, or someone thinks there's something wrong with you. If I tell somebody that they're okay when they come see me, they actually get pissed. It's like, that doesn't happen in any other subspecialty, but in psychiatry, people come in already knowing that there's something wrong with them, and they only want to know what's wrong with them. They don't want to know if there's something wrong with them. So if I let them know that they're just living in a human condition where life can be very difficult, they think I'm diminishing their soul, when in fact, what's really happening is that they're living in a human condition where life can be very difficult. It's like, we all know that.
Welcome to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. I'm Cynthia Penner, and of course, I'm here with my two amazing friends and co-hosts, Tracy and Lorraine. So today, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Fred Moss, known as the Undoctor. Dr. Fred is a psychiatrist with over 45 years in the mental health field and more than 36 years as an MD. He's the founder of Welcome to Humanity and the creator of the Undoctor Reset, the Moss Method, and True Voice technology. Through his innovative approach, he helps people stay away from overdiagnosis and medication dependence to rediscover healing through communication, connection, and human resilience. Dr. Fred, we are so excited to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me. I can't wait to strike out this conversation and see what we have going on.
Perfect. So, Dr. Fred, let's start by giving our listeners a sense of who you are and what you do. You've been in the mental health field for over 4 decades, and you call yourself the Undoctor. Can you share how your journey led you to that title and creating things like Welcome to Humanity and the Undoctor Reset?
Sure. So thank you for that question. Really, I came to the planet as a healer. I really do mean that. I think people speak to that. But if you look at back in the day when I was born into a family of lots of chaos, lots of disarray, lots of conflict. I had 2 older brothers, 10 and 14 years old, and my parents, and what they tell me is that, it was a difficult time and chaos and disarray. And I remember being called on, in some ways, I was called on to bring joy and peace and happiness and levity to that family. And I did a pretty good job for at least a couple years. I don't think I've done a great job every year since then, but I've done a pretty good job in the beginning. So I was really, just really entertained and engaged and deeply interested in trying to learn how to communicate, because I was a talker. I was articulate. I was precocious. My brothers taught me a lot of things that my friends didn't know about what it was like to be a teenage boy or something. And so I picked up a lot of those things, and I talked a lot in elementary school, and enough so that there's certainly no elementary school teacher that I've had who forgot having Fred as a student. About that. I was just learning how to communicate. I just wanted more than anything to learn how to be like my big brothers and be like my parents and make a difference with my words. But it wasn't happening in school, as you know. I got to school and I was told to sit down, be quiet, and do what the teacher says. And I wasn't really welcome for any kind of open discourse. So I learned that it was like opposed in school to have that kind of conversation. And maybe in the bigger schools, maybe in junior high. So I, it got worse in junior high and then even worse in high school. And I was like, man, school doesn't teach you how to communicate. That's,
No.
I learned how to communicate, but I learned how to communicate when I was away from school. And I did spend significant time away from school, even on days where I should have been there as I was going through high school. And eventually got into, decided that, look, somewhere these people learned how to communicate. Maybe it's college. So 40 miles away, there was this pretty cool college. It had great helmets and stuff, and we all talked about going there, and it was at the University of Michigan. And so I went to University of Michigan for a little while as an engineer based on my math scores. That didn't work out, and then I I dropped out and got on a bus. And, to learn how to communicate, you got to get out in the real world. And I was out in the real world. I had all my stuff with me, and I got on a bus and took it all the way to Berkeley, California, so that I could get my life put together. Wow. And I spent the summer in Berkeley with all of my stuff. And, and in fact, it made some pretty big advances in learning how to communicate, but it wasn't truly sustainable. So my family, my brothers, and now my sister, also younger than me, and my parents, was like, well, you should maybe try out this new industry that's coming up. And we think you have the aptitude for it. It was called computers. You may have heard of it. And it was like this idea that I could be a computer kind of guy, and I went in there and batch jobs and punch cards and Fortran and COBOL. I was like, nah, it's not going to work either, and dropped out again. And this time I was pretty sure I'd never go back to college ever again. It's not working for me, this education thing. So my mom told me I needed to get a job, and I got a job as a child care worker at a state mental health facility for adolescent boys. And it was a civil service job. My mom found me the application. And now, I thought I'd stay for only 3 weeks, orientation only, because I could sit in the conference room for 3 weeks and twiddle my thumbs and write notes or do whatever. And then after 3 weeks, take 3 nice paychecks and buy myself a car and go drive around the country and figure out what my life was about, and that's what my full intention was. But on that 4th week, my friend Paul convinced me to go up to Meadowview 5 with him, and we became childcare workers together, and we later became very good friends. And what I realized there is my first place where I could really communicate and make a huge difference and get paid. So the idea was, all I had to do was like connect with these so-called, I don't know, impatients or whatever they were, but they were just people, just people stumbling, bumbling, and tumbling through life just like me. And this eye-to-eye conversation of deep respect and honor and just honest, genuine curiosity is what created massive, of course it did, massive healing for everyone, because that's what we're all ultimately really looking for. Not just them healing, but me healing, and then the people around us healing, like creating a space for the possibility of genuine, authentic conversations and communication. The only thing I didn't like about that job, I liked the hours, I liked the power, I liked meeting my kids, I liked most of it, was the way that psychiatry was going, of all things. And I just couldn't stand the direction that psychiatry was headed. And it was just like in a direction that to me looked like they were, so constraining and so restraining and so smothering. And it wasn't about communication, and it was headed in a direction that maybe communication was going to be diminished in its impact of healing. So I decided I would go back to school one last time and actually become a psychiatrist and change the way psychiatry is done from within. I mean, that was really my intention. That I was going to bring something, remind psychiatry and everyone else that really, no, that isn't how we do things. We don't have to diagnose people and medicate people and restrain people and constrain people. And, we just don't have to do that. So back to school I went, and sure enough, the next 12 or 13 years is how I completed, all of the medical school at Northwestern University in Chicago. And then I got a residency, and then I got a fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry. So, all sorts of very cool credentials all of a sudden got packed onto my name, and I'm a psychiatrist now. So I come out, and things unfortunately have gone in the direction that I thought that they were going in earlier visionary days. And so I had to kind of be duplicitous. In order to do the job that I was asked to do, I had to do things that maybe flew against my better judgment. And I lived in a whole half of a career, at least, 15, 18 years doing that, like spending a lot of time still knowing how to diagnose and how to treat, what the so-called proper treatment plans or the medication regimens or whatever, but really disliking any of that so much that it was causing a split in who I was as a human. In 2006, it was a really big thing because I decided to make some changes. I could no longer live with the duplicity that was inherent in my presence. So I started doing something that I knew would be pretty helpful, or at least be interesting. And I had a couple thousand patients in my practice, and I took many of them off their medication entirely with their consent, like let's see what we do. If these medicines are working, let's see what happens when they're not here. So reliably and predictably and profoundly, everyone got got better, like way better, remarkably better. Not right away. Some people were afraid because coming off the medicine can be a little tricky. But once they were off their medicine and began to believe that there was nothing wrong with them in the first place, because that's really what you have to get to, there was a new sense of healing that took place with me removing the diagnosis and removing the medications and literally giving them their life back. Now, this was disruptive to a lot of people. If you start learning that maybe medicines are actually doing the opposite of what they're intended to do, it's hard to get that message out there to everyone without being violent. I had the need to be violent. I was like, I want to go on top of a hill and just scream it, take people by the scruff of their neck and let them know, stop doing this. But that doesn't work. So instead, what I came up with is learning how to be gentle about it, learning how to still appreciate all that's so about it all, and help people see that really there's only one place that matters. And that's this idea of thinking that there's something wrong with you. So the only reason you would ever go to a psychiatrist is because you think something is wrong with you, and ultimately, or someone thinks there's something wrong with you. You see, psychiatry has its own little flavor that if I tell somebody that they're okay when they come see me, they actually get pissed. It's like, that doesn't happen in any other subspecialty. But in psychiatry, people come in already knowing that there's something wrong with them, and they only want to know what's wrong with them. They don't want to know if there's something wrong with them. So if I let them know that they're just living in a human condition where life can be very difficult, they think I'm diminishing their soul, when in fact, what's really happening is that they're living in a human condition where life can be very difficult. It's like, we all know that. And so when I would drive that home, that would be, that was really important in 2006. And what ended up happening is I started getting a lot of people off medicine. I started looking at where can I practice this kind of medicine where I can let people know that even if you're really highly uncomfortable, and I don't diminish the experience at all. I mean, life is really hard. It's no kidding. I'm not saying get over it, pick yourself up by those bootstraps, wear rosy glasses. No. Life is freaking hard. It's no problem. I get it. But you might not be pathological by having to fight your way through life. We don't blame a log for burning in a fire, for instance. And if we look at ourselves as logs, we got a fire that we're burning in. And it's okay to actually get scorched or get anxious or get nervous or get sad or be aimless or feel confused or, distractible, or many things that are presently given psychiatric implications. So the last half of my career since then, and I'll kind of fast forward, has been just finding a way to get flat-footed with what I really know is true, what my experience has taught me, what my passion is, how communication can be really centered to the middle of all relationships, including these 4 relationships right here. And we really start looking at, that communication and connection are at the heart of all healing, of all conditions, of all types everywhere. And we start really seeing that that's really what we're after anyways. And it's explosive, and it doesn't have any side effects associated with it. And you don't have to give authorization. You don't need hospital approval. You don't need to go to the pharmacy once a month. You don't need to do any of that. It's really just a matter of connecting with another human being. And in that process, healing takes place all over, not just for who you're connecting with, but for you and for everybody else. So incorporating that, there's been some brands that have come. Welcome to Humanity is my main brand. That seemed like it made the most sense as it got kind of arose about 10 years ago. And then there was others like Global Madness or the True Voice Technology or the Creative 8 or the Moss Method or now the Undoctor Reset. All of those really pay attention to very similar notions to what I'm saying here, which is how do we find our true voice, and then how do we stay entirely curious such that when we meet somebody or when we hear of somebody, we can look at them with the notion that there may be nothing wrong with them, even if they feel like there is. We all think there's something wrong with us, by the way. You probably think there's something wrong with you. You probably think that you're different and you're so different and you're like, you got something wrong with you. And you could even make a case that thinking that there's something wrong with you is a sign that you're normal, because every single person thinks there's something wrong with them. So it's okay to think that. It just doesn't confirm that there is. It just, in fact, kind of confirms that there isn't. And when we start really looking at the joy and peace and freedom that comes from the idea of not only believing there's nothing wrong with me, but believing there's nothing wrong with them either, we're all just stumbling, bumbling, tumbling through life without an owner's manual, without a recipe book. It's hard to be human. I totally get it. And when I connect with people, and I've worked in pretty much every single area that Western medicine has to offer psychiatry, including prisons and jails and inpatients and nursing homes and, residential homes and homeless shelters and all this. When I connect with somebody, there's nothing it's not even comparable to any kind of impact that a diagnosis or a medication can make with somebody. Not even pretend to be comparable. So that's who I become.
So, Dr. Fred,
Wow.
thank you for that. So, you've really put human connection at the center of healing, which
Mhm.
does feel so different from the traditional medical model.
Sure.
So, for women who feel overdiagnosed or stuck inside a label, what do you want them to know about the possibility of healing differently? And what do you mean when you say mental illness is just a conversation?
It is just a conversation after all. So when you find yourself so-called stuck in a label, it's usually a label. Look, mental illness, unlike if you have a broken arm and you're in St. Louis and then you fly to Singapore or Sarajevo, Auckland or Reykjavik, you're still going to have a broken arm. There it is. You got a broken arm, it's a broken arm everywhere. That is so not true inside of psychiatry. If you have a condition inside of psychiatry and you travel to somewhere else in a different context, it's entirely likely that you don't have that condition anymore. It's entirely likely that in that context, you don't have that condition. That's not what you have. You all have your own diagnosis. Your diagnosis is you're Tracy, Lorraine, and Cynthia. That's your diagnosis, period. That's where it stops. That's where it starts. That's it. You have that experience of being that person. But once you take on the idea that you have a diagnosis because somebody in a white coat or somebody somewhere had the audacity to tell you what was wrong with you and you decided to agree with them, now you have really actually, typecast yourself. And so when you're sitting so-called behind a diagnosis, one thing to really understand is that it's with your being complicit. You're actually agreeing that you have that diagnosis just because somebody told you that. And you think, oh, yeah, that's right. I had a doctor. He told me. So let's look. If you would have come into my office and you say, I have some problems. I have gray mottled skin. My nose is too big. I eat too many peanuts. I drink too much water. And I'm a mess in a china shop. Okay. Let me look up my DSM-17 here and I'll see what we got. And, we open it up and I'm like, I got it, man. And you're like, oh, good. I finally get to know what's wrong with me. I say, well, you're an elephant. You're like, man, I didn't ever see that. I'm so excited. This is so great. I finally have an explanation for this confluence of symptoms. Here's what happens. Not only are you really excited because now you've been given an opportunity to relinquish your responsibility for your life, because you do get to do that inside of a diagnosis. You get to say, that wasn't me, that's my ADHD. That wasn't me, that's my bipolar. That's my narcissism. That's my PTSD. That's my social anxiety. That wasn't me, that was it. So we relinquish responsibility for life when we take on a diagnosis. And not only that, once we take it on, like in the case of the elephant, when you leave my office, you will naturally be looking for circuses and chains because you already know that that's where an elephant lives. You'd be like, I guess I'm an elephant. Where's the circus? So that's what psychiatric diagnoses are. They're usually made up as a function of the diagnostician. See, you say something and then it trips something in me that I've been trained to be tripped in. Like you say, I have impending doom. I'm like, okay, you got panic disorder. I got racing thoughts. Oh, you got bipolar disorder. It's like I've been trained to dance with you inside of my training to come up with a particular diagnosis that then, by the way, becomes entirely unremovable for the rest of your life. You cannot go to a psychiatrist and not get a diagnosis, by the way. Most people don't realize that. There's no such thing as no diagnosis inside of the psychiatric billing coding. They need to give you a diagnosis, and it's not removable, even if you disagree with it. Even if another doctor says you don't have it, it's still there. So and it can have major impact on who you are in the work world or who you are in the relationship world, or maybe more importantly, who you are in the self-esteem world. Like you get that you're defective, you get you're afflicted, you get you're missing a slot, or you have some natural chemical imbalance that you think you have because you're depressed all the time. There's actually a possibility that being depressed all the time is a choice. Like there's a possibility that the same level of information, the same exact data doesn't lead to a depression that otherwise you're choosing in some ways to pursue. What's the value of look, I'm not calling anybody anything but completely human. Like, it's okay. It's really okay. It's just possible that depression isn't a thing that comes in and swoops you up. It's actually a decision, perhaps a choice that you're making along the lines of how to deal with life as you see it happening. And maybe you're really sad, and maybe you're really, really sad. It's so sad that you can't even find a reason to get out of bed. That doesn't mean you have a condition. It means you don't have a reason to get out of bed. That's what it means. And so when we really start looking that there may be nothing physiologically or actually wrong with you for being upset, scared, nervous, sad, out of balance, distracted, or insomnia, or impulsive, or all these things that are so-called associated with psychiatric illness, maybe they're just conversations that are subject to immediate and total transformation.
That's funny. When I was in my 20s, I was going through serious depression. I was sad. I knew why I was sad, and I was trying to get to talk to somebody, and it was just the same. Well, here, take these antidepressants. I knew I wasn't even skilled in any way, but I knew I didn't have a chemical imbalance. I had a life that sucked. I wanted help, right? So I was sad for a reason, but
Yeah.
the doctors tried to give you a prescription for that. That just blew me away.
I appreciate that really much. So
Mhm.
here's the thing. You start believing, when you start getting that, doctors are only trained to do what doctors do. Like,
Right.
we hear whatever
Yeah.
we hear, and then we respond like we respond, especially if we do so inside of the training that we properly receive from the educational model. So you say, I'm depressed. I've been depressed for a couple weeks. I cry too much. I haven't been eating as much, and I'm not taking care of myself. I take less showers, and I'm sad, and I'm like, I get angry with my kids too fast, and blah, blah, blah. And some doctors like, well, I know what to do with you, give you an antidepressant. But they don't even give you an antidepressant. Let's keep that in mind. They give you a piece of paper, and then you choose to go get the antidepressant.
Ah.
Let's make that very clear. So if I give you a piece of paper that says rat poison on it, I'm guessing you're not running to the store to get that.
Ah.
When you start getting that you are at the helm of your life, it is your sovereign life. You are the author of your life. You are the choreographer of your life. Even this stuff that's happening that's completely unpleasant or maybe way wrong. I've already made a handful of mistakes today. Welcome to humanity. This is just part of the deal. When we start getting that we can be responsible for the stuff that even we're not proud of, maybe we're even shameful of, or maybe we're, blaming or guilting, whatever. It's a much cleaner and much more powerful space to start the world from. Rather than thinking that, that isn't me, that's my alphabet soup diagnosis of some other nation or some other nature. When we really get that we are at the helm of our life, that we have the capacity to move our life in whatever direction we choose, through using some of the compiled, especially the Moss method, the 20 things associated with that, which I didn't design any of them, but I compiled them, and they include gratitude and meditation, nutrition, hydration, service, and pets, and movement, and journaling, and pampering, and reading real books, and spirituality, and service. Like, these are things that are part of the Moss method. It's pretty audacious for me to put my name on any of those things, but I just compiled the list. And the whole idea is that when you start doing some of those things, you can start realizing that you don't have to actually mold yourself to the outside circumstances that you're experiencing. You don't have to become those experiences. Especially with meditation, you can notice those experiences happening and actually let them go and get that you're having those experiences. You just don't have to become those experiences. And that person, yep, they don't like you. And that person, yep, they set you up. And that person there does atrocious things. And that person there loves you to death and stalks you. And that person there, and it's like, yep, welcome to humanity. It's all good.
It's crazy. It's crazy that when you just say things as they are, people don't know how to take that. They don't understand. It's like the sky is blue and it's like, wait a minute, are you trying to tell me what color I'm seeing or whatever?
Right.
We just don't have that societal and institutional process anymore that allows us to be responsible and accountable for our own thinking, our beliefs, our feelings, our actions and stuff. And so it is really difficult right now. I am a hostile patient here. Like Tracy, I have got medications for things. They were mostly physical, but never took. I would get a prescription, as you said, and then it would just go into my drawer because it's right. It's up to us. If you go into the doctors, like for me, it was migraines, and then they give you this migraine pill that said you had to take this for at least a week before it even started to work, I just smiled, took the prescription, shoved it in a drawer, and then went about my business. And so, in a way, you're saying the same thing about when we're feeling sad. When I was feeling sad and I wanted someone to talk to, I called my health insurer, and I couldn't get past the person insisting that I admit that I was depressed.
Yeah.
So I said, I'd like someone to talk to. And they kept saying, so you're depressed. And I kept saying, no, I'm not depressed. I just need someone to talk to. Well, I have to put down that you're depressed or I can't transfer you to anybody. So I hung up because no, I wasn't going to be diagnosed. I wasn't going to have something like that go into my medical file just because I was sad.
Yeah.
So we have those institutions working against us. And for people who are in the midst of something, they're not going to push back. They're going to be passed through the system, going through the diagnosis, going through the medication, going through all of the instructions they're given. And like you said, no autonomy, no accountability, no responsibility, and really, at the end of the day, no help.
Really well said. Beautiful. And here's one thing, a couple things I want to point out about what you said that may have gone unnoticed otherwise. And that is, if you want someone to talk to, don't call an insurance company. Call somebody in your life. You don't need to have a license to help somebody. You don't need to have a license to listen to somebody. You don't need to have a license to connect to somebody. You want someone to talk to? Call somebody you can talk to. Like, that's okay. It's okay. It's actually way more valuable than anyone who thinks that because I went through 4 years of medical school, another 4 years of residency, and then another 3 years of child and adolescent fellowship, that something happened in those 11 years that leaves me more capable of like connecting with you. That didn't happen. It didn't happen to me. It didn't happen to anybody. That didn't happen. So the idea that I need someone to talk to, I got to go the conventional stream and go find out what my insurance covers, or go find out if that person, a therapist or a doctor. It's entirely possible that you could call your sister or one of your two sisters here, or you could actually call me, or you could call somebody and have it be that you could be connected with and connect with another person getting the magic. So it's not a requirement in any way, even if you feel lousy, to come up the conventional mental health stream. It's not a requirement. You want to do it?
Right.
No problem. It's okay. It's there. Millions of people are doing it. It's okay. It's not the best choice, but it is a choice. It's for sure a choice, and you can make that one. The other thing I want to speak to that I think is along the same lines of that you also embedded in your declaration there is that the medicines are not even marketed to heal anyone.
Yep.
Once you pick up a psychiatric diagnosis, all you just learned is you have this thing forever. No one has ever pretended that you're going to take medicine and that psychiatric diagnosis is going to dissolve and diminish and disappear. Not going to happen. Want to know why? Because the medications are actually designed to keep you sick. Really. Really. But there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a lot of business models do whatever they can to get you to come back and buy more of their product. It's an okay thing. It really is. It's a great business model. I wish I would have eventually designed a product that was built into it, the need to continue taking that product. It's a good business model. So when you start looking at, it's not even a Band-Aid. Antidepressants not only don't cure depression, they actually cause depression. And not only do they cause depression, they cause all sorts of other stuff. In a moment, you'll be on other medications to deal with what you're calling side effects. They're not side effects, they're effects. They're fully reliable, fully predictable, and they're going to happen. And then you're going to have to pretend you have a side effect. Side effects assume that there's an effect. Side effects assume that there's something good that the medicine is doing at the start, and then there's all the other stuff that you have to put up with. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's not really happening that way at all. And maybe the Band-Aid that you think medicine is actually a Band-Aid with a razor blade embedded in it that is actually causing increased symptoms at the same time that it's dealing with your sense of immediate comfort by smothering your capacity to actually feel that experience or any experience for that matter.
Well, it
Doctor,
also has, I'm sorry, Cynthia, just one last thing. It also has another side effect, and that is that it creates more people who then need more diagnoses, who then need more medication because of their system. They want order and they want control, and that's what diagnoses does, and that's what medications do. Try to take the so-called chaos that people are experiencing and have some order to them by labeling them and then by giving them medication for that. But then it just increases more people to think, I also need to be labeled and I also need medication. And then we have an out-of-control system right now.
Right. And we can get maybe, and that's, when people ask me a lot of times, the last sentence on a podcast is, what do you want everybody to know that you didn't say yet? It is, maybe if that's yours, sorry for breaking the thunder, but is, maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Like no kidding. Like it's okay.
Right.
Or them, by the way. Nothing wrong with him either.
Yeah.
Or her. No, really, even him. No, seriously, even them. Like all they're really doing is they're bumbling and stumbling and tumbling through life with what they know to do next. That's it. That's all that's happening. You don't have to like them. I'm not telling you a mass murderer is a good person. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's nothing pathological about it. It's not pathological. It's the choice of events. And am I saying I support him by calling him not sick? No, but that's not what we're talking about.
no.
Right.
We're talking about, is there something pathologically, mentally ill about you for making the decisions you made? Maybe it's not even close to this really faulty notion that there is a chemical imbalance. There's no proofs of that anywhere. No elegant or eloquent proofs that chemical imbalance causes psychiatric illness at all. And the whole model is built on that fallacy.
It's actually more proof out there that it starts in our gut.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
how we deal with the things happening, how we deal with how we see the world.
But so many of
So
our
let's-
listeners right now have been prescribed medications or told they have a long time illness. So I wonder how they're feeling right now, because this is a very color outside the lines, outside the box, against what we're all led to believe and all what we're led to do, just like Lorraine said, that control, right?
Yeah.
And what the three of us have always said in our podcast is it starts with the gut, it starts with nutrition, it starts with natural healing. So can you talk about when people begin to step off that path and lean into human resistance instead, how they're feeling right now hearing this? Like if someone's got their diagnosis in one hand and they filled the prescription in the other, and they're listening to this conversation before they throw both at the screen, can you step into and talk to them?
I'm okay with him throwing both of them at the screen, by the way. Completely okay. It's completely okay. Because when you know the truth, you got to deal with it. It's not time to water down the truth because you don't want to throw them both at the screen. Here's the truth. There may be nothing wrong with you. It's okay. I still love you. It's still difficult. Life is hard. It's hard being a human. It's always been hard being a human. Really hard. It's deeply challenging. It's really difficult. So when we really start looking at what about the people, there is a group of people, I run into them, not as large as you would think, who are so excited about the fact that they have a diagnosis and they have a therapist and they have a treatment plan and they have a medication. They wouldn't change it for the world. And even if I had something to offer them that was better, they'd say no. Okay. If that's you, please continue doing whatever you're doing. Because if you've reached the place of unupgradable in any area of life, amazing. Please keep doing that. This conversation will only stick to people who already know that what I'm saying holds water. They already know that they've been mistreated. They already know that they've been overdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, mismedicated, overmedicated, undermedicated, mistreated, undertreated, overtreated. They already know that. They know that. I'm not hitting it someplace they don't know. Little Freddie knew this when he was 3. You all did too when you were 3.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not me designing something out there outside of the boxes. Not exactly, unless you call outside of the box the way a 3-year-old colors because he doesn't even know there's a box. If we start looking at there wasn't a box in the beginning. So if there wasn't a box, the box is what got created, not the anti-box. And all I'm really suggesting is that coming to grips with our basic humanity and how we propel ourselves to get involved in some form of relationship with somebody, somewhere, somehow. That's, after all, why is there 4 of us on this call? Because all 4 of us are interested in creating what kind of relationship might happen here. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? But why are the 3 of you friends? Because you get some, benefit for, there's some very real benefit about staying friends with each other. Because human connection is way more profound than anything that was ever created inside of the conventional mental health system, which supposedly back in the day was to be built on the shoulders of human connection back in the day.
Right.
But that has shifted so drastically once the whole idea of chemical imbalance and biological psychiatry hit the ground, which in 1987 primarily, 1987 with the advent of a very, very, very popular and extremely famous drug that has altered the whole face of mental health on a world scale. And that drug was called Prozac.
Okay. I didn't want to guess.
And then people, and then the whole idea of generics, the whole myth of generics. There's so much crap going on back here. If you just kind of knew, it wouldn't even be fun. It's no longer even funny, and it's not even evil. It's not funny or evil. Like, both, you might have a tendency to want to be pissed or to be disappointed or be sad or be scared or think it's evil or something. Actually, it's not nearly as evil as you think. If you start believing that just because you feel lousy doesn't mean you need to go see a doctor. You don't have to. You really don't have to. There are so many ways that are more effective than that. So you don't get caught on, voice machines waiting for the next rep to tell you that the next appointment you can't afford is in 14 weeks. Call your sister. Human Connection's where it's at. I promise.
We believe you because we're at the same mind. I don't know how fast society's catching up to that, because still, like, the moment we've been funneled, I guess you could say, we've been funneled in the direction of, especially for women in menopause, go to your MD doctor. Well, guess what? He has no clue, right? And that's why we've all been frustrated. Or if you have a problem like being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I was told to go to a dietitian. What they told me to do actually would have made my diabetes worse. But we are still funneled in the direction of the mainstream, right? So what you're saying, I mean, I absolutely 100% agree with, and I find it empowering, and I really hope people listen. And you're right, reach out and get that human support, get the human support.
Yeah. And when you start looking at what you just said, another place to be there that's really, really important is getting those people who are pretty sure that they need to now go see their therapist or go see their doctor or upgrade or increase their medicines or catch on to a new medicine or check out this therapy or something like that. They're just living life too. They're just in the same class. They're in the same they're just living life the way that they're living life. Now, the problem with these medications is not only do they reliably cause the symptoms they're marketed to treat, or at least perpetuate those symptoms. Not only do they do that, because they do that. So in other words, if you've never been depressed and I give you an antidepressant, you will be depressed within a month, I promise, no problem. That's how the drug works. It actually creates the symptoms it's marketed to treat.
That's crazy.
No, it isn't. It's a fantastic model.
Yeah, but
there's no emotions involved. It's a fantastic business model. When you can, of course, I get that it's crazy. I'm not arguing with you. It is crazy, but you start realizing it's actually not so crazy. It's probably the best. It might even be the best theory you've ever heard about modern medicine, modern psychiatric medicine. That's why people line up. Look, if someone is one day late on their prescription in my practice, they go freaking nuts. Dr. Voss, I need my script. And they're at the pharmacy at 8 in the morning in line before they open, like a Rolling Stones tickets or something. So these medicines create a sense of dependence because they again, there's a sense of all the dependence, like I need this because I need this, etc. And there's another component to the medicines that's also in that same world of really, which is they create a spike of the symptoms they're marketed to treat upon discontinuation. So when you discontinue, you will be certain that the symptoms you thought it was treating will spike. You'll think it's you. You'll think it's because you came off medicine and finally you started flowing back in. But it's not you. It's whoever would have been on medicine as long as you've been on it and then come off of it will get that same surge. Look, this is a brilliant business model. It really is. I have to smile at how freaking awesome it is. I wish I would have designed it. It's so good. It's so good. But when you really start looking at, like, what is the point? The point is to is to wind people up into being fairly certain that there's something wrong with them. And then in the process of giving them a medicine that they then need to take forever, people are more afraid to come off medicine than come on medicine. Even that is freaking absurd. Think about it. Like if people would do the due diligence before they came on medicine, they would, why would I put this toxin in my mouth pretending that it's going to change my life? Why would I do that? Instead, people get on medicine. They're like, oh, I got to taper. I got to wait 3 to 6 months. It's like, if I told you there was rat poison in that pill, would you wait 3 months? What if I told you there was rat poison in that pill you're taking every morning? And what we're going to do is we're going to taper you over the next 4 months.
Thank you.
So every morning you get to eat rat poison, but a little bit less.
So, Doctor, you've worked with hundreds of people and you've seen them transform when they're given permission to believe they're not broken. So for our listeners, what are some safe first steps they can take to begin exploring this type of healing besides call your sister?
Your sister is not a bad one. Let's keep that in mind.
Yep.
It's not.
I'm just saying what you were just saying. Yep.
It should not be thrown to the side as if it's just. That's exactly what you should do: is call your sister for real. And if you're really looking at it, I'm not giving you permission to throw your medicines away. I'm not doing that. This isn't medical advice. I'm not doing that. What I'm suggesting is that your medicines might not be helping you, and they might even be hurting you, and you got to find your way through that. And one of the ways that you got to find through that is consider the possibility, just the possibility, even if it's wavering, that there might never have been anything wrong with you in the first place. This is super key because once you're able to land there, you no longer have to be fixed. And if you no longer have to be fixed, you're no longer dependent on some so-called clinician physician to fix you. And then you don't have to actually comply to everything he says about whether you're an elephant or you need some Seroquel. It's okay. But you have to back up all the way to the idea that maybe even though you have felt so lousy for so long, you've missed work, you've hurt your friends, you're having trouble getting out of bed, you've gained some weight, whatever's going on. Can you get that that's the human experience? Because when you can get that, now you're starting from a new place and you can start making good decisions about what to do. Not so much with the medicines being the evil thing. The medicines are not evil in the same way that rat poison is not inherently evil. It's just a chemical after all. It's all it really is. It's not evil. Doctors aren't evil. We're being taught what to do and we tell you what to do. And then you listen to us because you think we know so much. And then, or whatever. Or like you wouldn't want to be a bad girl and not do what the doctor says. So, the whole thing is all programmed in. And again, we start looking at when we decide that we can take hold of our life using some of the more innocuous, but overwhelmingly like time-tested and proven techniques like meditation and gratitude and Tai Chi, Qigong, or drinking lots of water, eating organic foods, or watching the toxins you put in your body, or reading real books. Once you start doing all that, being creative, having authentic conversations, your life will change, I promise. There's no way you're doing all that stuff and not having your life change. There's no way. I don't care how depressed you think you are today. You are capable of doing mostly all of those things, even if you haven't been out of bed in 4 days. You could do that. I get it that you might not do that. You might say, no, I'm sick, dude. I'm going to stay in bed another day. Okay. Stay in bed another day and let me know how it works for you. So we really start looking at, all I really like doing, the reason why this is so fun here, with all the years of duplicity that ran my life in those 20 years or so, This is not hard to speak to. This is just this is pretty not very controversial. Ultimately, not very controversial. Go ahead and keep doing whatever you're doing if it's working, please. Of course. I'm not telling you to stop doing something that isn't working or stop doing something that is working. I'm not telling you. What I'm suggesting is for those of you who know there's something not working, that you're stunned and less competent and less courageous and less available and less present and less worthy and less emoting and less sexy and less friendly. If that's what's happening to you, well, it might be time to consider a change.
Yep. Thank you so much, Dr. Fred, for this inspiring conversation, the way you're shifting how we think about mental health, because you are shifting it. So for our listeners, you can connect with Dr. Fred through undoctorreset.com, drfred360.com, and welcome to humanity.net. Right?
Yeah.
Perfect. And do you have any other ways they want to connect with you, or do you have
I
special for today?
Embarrassingly spend too much time scrolling in Facebook. I can't stand it. And if I'm successful, like today or tomorrow, I will like get rid of that account. So, but I can be found there, unfortunately. Another place that I actually I don't hate so much in the social media world is LinkedIn. And that's a place where you can reach out to me. And in all those places, all three of the sites you said, and in LinkedIn, in my newsletter or my small groups, or in my school group, the Undoctor school group, in all those places, there's access to what I do and how I do it and why I do it. And it'd be my pleasure to speak with anybody about themselves, about someone they're caring for. The Undoctor Reset is really showing other people how to become undoctors. It's not about like being undoctored. It's about showing people how to become undoctors, because it turns out there's no certification required. You want to be an undoctor? You can do that with any degree or any amount of education, from any upbringing, from any demographic. You can be an undoctor. And what was it being an undoctor? Your capacity to be very curious and understanding to your bones that human connection is at the heart of all healing. Just not that hard to get that. And once you get that, you get to be an undoctor.
Thanks for tuning in to the Happy Healthy Her podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with anyone you think would benefit from the topics we're discussing. We'd love to hear from you. DM us with your thoughts, comments, or ideas for future episodes. And don't forget to check out the links in our bio if you'd like to connect with any of us or learn more about what we do. Until next time, remember, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, be happy, and be healthy.